Black women for centuries, for centuries, their history and their purpose in history has been for so long just swept under the rug. What people suspected was that men outnumbered women, and everything was so focused on men. And it's just now, in about the last 2 decades, probably the last 20 years, that historians are actually starting to research and write about women's history.
You're fearfully and wonderfully made, but all day I can tell a woman, you're so beautiful, you're so pretty, but if you don't believe it, you have to believe it. You have to believe it.
Our glass ceilings and black women are shattering that. I think
Just like everything else, I think it's for us, but I don't think white people care. You know, this is just being honest. I don't think they care. I don't think that it's a big deal to them like it is to us. And we as a community tend to go in circles.
Man, I believe that women arguably have had a more impactful role in African American history than males.
African Americans have shown their greatness time and time again. Whether in athletics, academia, the political world, or other areas of success, African Americans have fought their way through years of oppression and continue to show their brilliance. It's well documented the power that black men exemplify. But what about black women? The power of melanin in black men has been discussed quite often in the last couple of years. But a topic that is just coming to the surface is the gift, the talent, and the power that black women have, known as Black Girl Magic. To better understand Black Girl Magic, we have to get a better understanding of the history of black women.
Everybody knows about the diaspora. And the slaves, they were dispersed from different parts of Africa. And then when they were put on ships, I mean, they were stripped of their name, stripped of their heritage, stripped of everything that they ever were entitled to in their homeland. So, I mean, when you travel through history, it's all that was happening was those basic rights that they once had, the liberty to do, and those basic rights that they once had freedom to own, they had none of those rights anymore. You have different amendments, different laws, different things that try to come in place to try to, in a sense, make things a little better, but for the most part, it was kind of just the same pattern, just kind of shaped in a different way throughout that period. So particularly women, you do have men who are still considered property, but they're allowed to fight in the Civil War. And you even have women who are helping to recruit men for the Civil War. You have African American women who are nurses in the Civil War. You have African American women who are actually given the, not right because it wasn't constitutional, but they are given the liberty to be teachers to children during the Civil War, who had the luxury of learning to read and write from their masters. Mostly women who were above the Mason-Dixon line. There's of course not considered that at this time, but pretty much in the North, who had the liberty to learn from their masters. They were brought and they were assigned to teach the kids, well, teach the students, sometimes white and black students.
Following the liberation of black people during the Civil War, many black people chose to migrate to the North to escape the place of their bondage, but others had to stay and remain victims of subjugation despite technically being free.
Pretty much in that time, these women who decided to stay in the South, they were looked upon, and it's kind of messed up because a lot of the mental, physical, and psychological abuse that women had to endure, it was because white slave owners, they felt like this was what they wanted. And what do I mean by that? They were looked upon as sexual predators. Like their identity was inherently subjective. They white slave owners looked at them like they're sexual predators. They want to be raped. Sex is what they want. Like this is their nature. Like this is the only thing they're good for. So which made it easier on the conscience of white slave owners to even more provoke them and rape them. That's why, man, rapes just that physical abuse, man, it was always so prominent amongst white slave owners towards African American women, because it was kind of this sense that, okay, this is what they want. Like this is what gets them going. This is what they were built for, to have their bodies exploited.
Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children, and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with my mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, these women ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again.
All of that going on with African women, but over here you have white women who also don't have any rights, who are denied any access to any type of work outside of kind of familiar things. They were usually housewives. So I mean, you pretty much had the same things over here. Over here with white women, all you had is kind of this protection from physical brutality or anything like that. So the women's suffrage movement, of course, it started in 1848 with the convention in Seneca Falls, but pretty much this was an attempt by women. And if I'm not gonna go there, I can't remember the country. I don't want to say the same wrong country, but pretty much you have this sense of like, just we're tired. Like, they felt like women got to a point where they felt like they were contributing enough to society where they could experience and have access to the same rights that men were. So African Americans in this period, they started to feel the same way, because African Americans, man, you have black women in this time who have begun to preach. Like, you know how much preaching is frowned upon by women today. So you can imagine in the 19th century, like, it was women who were starting to preach. It was women who were starting to just have a more outspoken approach to the things that were going on in society.
In an effort to get more rights for themselves, white women began rallying and protesting for their rights, which later became known as the women's suffrage movement. To strengthen their numbers, some white women sought to bring black women into the fold, but not all of them were so willing.
Of course, they weren't just easily accepted into this movement. Like, of course, you have the more liberal whites who are part of the more liberal white women who are more accepting to blacks, and they're like, well, we're all women, we're in this together, y'all are experiencing the same thing we're experiencing, so let's push forward together. Then you have the more conservative ones that, like I said earlier, they still want this sense of supremacy, that y'all can come in, but you're not going to have a voice in this. So pretty much African Americans, though their contributions to the women's suffrage movement, it could have in some instances been limited. My husband teaching me over here that she's a beast, she's property, she's this, she's that. Like, I'm going to be a lot more timid about accepting her into this movement.
To them, that blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture. I think that's what you're asking. I have no choice over it. In the first place, to me, we are the most beautiful creatures in the whole world, black people. I mean, and I mean that in every sense, outside and inside. And to me, we have a culture that is surpassed by no other civilization, but we don't know anything about it. So again, I think I've said this before in the same interview, I think at some time before, my job is to somehow make them curious enough or persuade them by hook or crook to get more aware of themselves and where they came from and what they are into and what is already there, and just to bring it out. This is what compels me to compel them. And I will do it by whatever means necessary.
Black women would continue to fight for themselves and for black people, as shown during their fight in the civil rights movement. Both behind the scenes and on the front lines, black women fought just as hard as black men for the freedom of their people.
Say that the civil rights movement started with Rosa Parks in Montgomery, Alabama, when she refused to give up her seat to a white male. 2 years prior to that happening, people in Baton Rouge had already established a bus boycott, and a lot of people don't know anything about it. It was a lot of cases in Alabama where blacks or African Americans, they refused to give up their seats to white people who were getting on the bus prior to Rosa Parks, but probably the nucleus of the civil rights movement. And I say that because even though we always saw men at the forefront, it's so many things that we belittle and so many things that we probably that go unnoticed and have gone unnoticed for years that we don't actually bring to the forefront. Shirley Chisholm, Shirley Chisholm had such an influence on the black community even before she got to the point where she was the first woman to be on the Democratic ticket. Even before she entered to be the first woman to run for president, even before all that, for years she was voting she was in the Senate, she was voting for laws, she was putting procedures in place, primarily to stimulate education, which Brown versus Board of Education. So you had women who were doing a lot of behind the scenes work, who was doing all this writing, who was doing all this typing, who was keeping all these documents. So it's primarily, I say they were the nucleus because yes, males were the mouthpiece, but women are the reason that we have women are primarily the reason we have all this information that we have today. Because you got to understand, some of these males, even in civil rights, were still uneducated because a lot of them, because of the draft, they had to go to the world. They had to go fight in World War II. They didn't have any control over it. That means you got to come out of school, or you got to come out of work. You got to come out of any area that you may get the opportunity to learn. And women, they're here. They have the resources, and they're just learning how to do all these good things. So I say they're the nucleus because, like I said, man, I don't feel, or it's factual, that you wouldn't have a lot of the written stuff that you have today if it weren't for them.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman.
Being black in America has been a struggle since the day slaves were first brought into America. The magic of black people, specifically black women, has given them the strength to persevere through years of oppression and pain. However, for all the freedoms and opportunities black people have fought for, there are still rights and privileges that only fair-skinned people enjoy in this country. And all of that takes a toll on the black woman's experience in America.
If you are male and white, then you are free to do whatever you want in this country. You can shit on the flag if you want to. You cannot stand up for the national anthem, and nobody bats an eye at you when you're white, male, and heterosexual. You can do whatever you want. The world is your oyster. You can go wherever you want and be as arrogant as you want, and that's just what it is. And all the older, my elders from down south would always say that. It's like, I want to be white, male, and 21. 21 years old, you get to do whatever you want to do, and you're white and you're male. That's a certain kind of mindset to have and to want. And I wanted freedom like that, but I wanted freedom being black and female. And I was going to get it no matter who said I was going about it in the wrong way.
I think when it came to grades, they told me, you know, as a black woman, you're going to have to be, you know, twice as good. You're going to have to be twice as, you know, better. You're going to have to work twice as hard.
When I was young, you could be one of two things. You could either be frightened because it made you stick out, and there was always someone around who didn't want you to be proud of being black. Or you could be proud and be defiant, and being proud and defiant was always going to like lead you into some sort of trouble. So you always had to walk like this fine line, always, of being too confident, too proud, too smart, too anything than what you were supposed to be.
First job in life as women, I think, is to get to know ourselves. And I think a lot of times we don't do that. We spend our time pleasing, satisfying, looking out into the world to define who we are, listening to the messages, the images, the limited definitions that people have of who we are. And that's true for women of color, for sure.
White women can wear their hair however they want. They can color it however they want. They can cut it. But black women, we're always, you know, your hair looks messy, or it looks ghetto, or it looks like this or this. And I just don't think other races have that issue, despite them wearing the same hairstyles we wear. I haven't had natural hair forever. I know when I first went into, you know, a corporate career, I had relaxed hair, so my hair was not an issue. But just my personality has always been big. I'm take charge. I'm a natural leader. I'm going to jump on something first. And, you know, it's not just your gender. It's not just your race. Then it's also your age. You know, so being young, a lot of people don't respect it.
You don't get over your issues about your size, your weight, your skin tone, your hair texture. If you don't deal with those early on, they will spiral out of control as an adult.
There are trillions of standards for us out there, and they're all supposed to be under the label of woman or lady, or you know, whatever you want your adjective to be. I have just ever wanted to just be a girl, because when you are black, you don't necessarily have that kind of innocence, because you have to be taught that you are black, and this is what that means in this place. You know, so it takes a lot of your innocence away. So just being yourself and being able to be just be able to be who you are, innately who you are, and not having to pretend to be what a magazine says you're supposed to be.
They say I'm not the average black girl because I'm so well-spoken, poised, full of etiquette, a white man's token. You know, I remember my ex's mother telling me I didn't know how I was going to react when he brought home a black girl, but I like you because you talk so white. Well, when did me talking right equate to me talking white? They say I'm not the average black girl. No, not the average black girl, because the pigment in my skin is just a shade lighter than that black girl over there. You know the black girl over there, the black girl with the nappy hair, the black girls whose elbows can't skip a day without lotion, whose hearts and heads are filled up with self-hate and bottled up emotion. The cocoa brown girls who have to face society every day and be tough, because no matter how good they straighten their hair, their good is still not good enough. Oh, see, luckily for me, I don't fall in that category. See, they say I'm not the average black girl because I speak with so much class, and I don't have too much, but just enough ass, and not too much, but just enough pizzazz. You know, just a little bit of attitude, because you don't want to come off as one of those average black girls and come off as rude. You know, popping their gum and shaking their neck. Yeah, because those black girls get, like, no respect. But see, luckily for me, I get a pass, because the melanin in my skin matches that brown paper bag.
It's something about the power in her voice, the coils in her hair, the fullness of her lips, the melanin in her skin, the creativity bubbling in her mind, and her essence, style, and spirit that is hard to find. All of these distinct qualities make up the universal awesomeness that is Black Girl Magic.
Being confident in who you are, irrespective of what stage of life you are in. I think we look at other people's outside and we think that that looks good and we want to be there, but we really don't get to see the hard work that goes into kind of the pretty covering. So it's really just celebrating your current stage and being confident in that.
I'm gonna say just because I'm black, I'm the definition of black girl magic. I believe it's my mindset. Like, I believe just black girl magic is a part of what you believe in, who you believe in, and what you carry. I don't believe I believe I'm a pretty girl, but I feel like I carry more on the inside than what people can see on the outside. So I can see that I believe that I'm a positive image. I'm a positive image by not wearing makeup all the time. I don't have to wear tight clothes to be pretty. So I believe that shows black girl magic.
I think it's finally coming full circle where women are actually starting to embrace their history, and they're actually starting to see that this inherent subjective behavior that was bombarded on us, that's not our true reality. Like, our true reality is that we are queens. Like, our true reality is we are not sexual predators. Like, our body is not our only means of strength. So I definitely feel like women now, they're starting to hone more into the positivity behind their history, or those positive figures in history, or those positive models or experiences in history, and they're starting to play towards that, man, and I'm loving it.
I'm not sure the black girl magic hashtag itself helps, you know, but programs like Black Girls Rock, that's the kind of thing that actually makes the impact. But again, it's just for us. It's not something that I see changing the world or changing the world's perception of us. I think that's something we as blacks have tried to do. We've tried to get this validation from people who are not going to validate us, and we'd be better off putting our efforts into just being better in general, you know, instead of just saying, look at me, I am great. I'm trying to tell you I'm great. Can't you see that I'm great? Instead of saying I'm great, and I'm great because I did this for my community and I made someone else great. And I think that's the person I am. Like, I'm not trying to get validation, because I'm going to be me regardless of if you care or if you don't. But what I will do is put something back into my community so that someone after me can be just as great as I am, if not greater. Hopefully greater.
Many people wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. When I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes, the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist, the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally.